40% should be really safe. Or it would be, but we have a second problem. I've received several reports of people claiming to spoof signatures on the initiative site. First off, I want to say that this is not a change.org petition. This is a government process. Spoofing signatures on it is a crime. Please do not do this. They'll be checked later by the EU Commission, and my guess is the fake ones will get turned over to Europol or Interpol and they'll follow up on this. If it's coming from America, Interpol is known to cooperate a lot with the FBI. Now, will they prosecute people on this? I have no idea. Europe takes its political processes pretty seriously, so I would think the more it's being spoofed, the more they might send law enforcement after people doing this. Again, I would not suggest doing this. It seems like a bad thing to risk going to prison over. But the problem here is I am now in a complete fog as to how much this affects the initiative. Now don't worry, none of this will invalidate the initiative. All legitimate signatures will still count. But that 1 million number? Yeah, it might not be real. I think we have at least 600, 700,000 real signatures. Beyond that, I don't know. Maybe it's just 1 or 2 people who tried it and this is nothing to worry about. Or maybe it's a sophisticated botnet spoofing hundreds of thousands of signatures. I have no clue. In fact, I noticed a few days ago, we were getting a good rise in the day European time, but then it would fall off a lot at night because people were going to bed. Now it seems like it's rising a lot through the night. So maybe
And we're back. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. And welcome back to another reaction. This time, we are reacting to Video Games Europe response to Stop Killing Games. Luke reacts. And this is by Luke Stephens live. Again, guys, if you want to watch the video itself without anybody talking over it, just go to Luke Stephens live channel in YouTube and watch it there. Before we check out the video, let's go take a look at the progress of Stop Killing Games. Okay, so we are looking at the live progress tracker for Stop Killing Games. And why is it not moving? I'm going to refresh the page. Okay, yep, it may not, I guess it's not moving right now, but as you can see, it has passed the 1 million signature requirements for the initiative, but it's not yet over. The next goal is 400,000 signatures, and that will act as a buffer. Why does it need a buffer? Because that 1 million signatures, there will be invalid signatures. Maybe something went wrong, maybe someone misspelled their names, and of course there are also malicious actors, malicious people out there who doesn't want this thing, Stop Killing Games, to succeed. They could have used bots to sign the petition, and if that was the case, and if that really happened, then those signatures are invalid and they will be removed from the 1 million signatures. That's why the campaign is still running and it's asking for more signatures. The goal is 400,000, and this 400,000 signatures will act as a buffer. In fact, I think it would be much safer if the campaign could get 2 million signatures. So let's go and get to 2 million. It's gonna be hard, but I think it's also going to be very safe if the campaign gets 2 million signatures. Okay, so let's go back to the video. Okay, so again, we're going to react to this video by Luke Stevens live.
We've talked about the Stop Killing Games petition. We've touched on all of that because it's been a hot button issue, sort of. I mean, it feels like everybody agrees on it except like 3 people. But having said that, there was a big group.
Stop Killing Games is a very good initiative for gamers who likes to own the games they buy. Of course, there are people or gamers out there that don't really care about anything. They just want to play games and, forget about it. But obviously,
but basically it is
there are also a lot more gamers out there who likes owning the games that they buy and maybe play it in the future.
It echoes pretty much one-to-one a lot of Pirate Software's talking points. So for example, they randomly talk about like interactive entertainment, but they go down, let's see, player safety, reduced or no player protection, requiring games to run on private servers would result in the inability.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The game is already dead. Why do you care? Okay, why would the game developers or publisher care? So if the game is already dead and it's now in the hands of the community, why would they even care about security? It's no longer on their servers.
Servers operated by players could expose game companies and consumers to bad actors, malware, data breaches, or DDoS attacks. Okay.
This doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. Why would they care?
Figure out how to deal with the malware afterwards. Like, okay. Negative impact on investment in games, job growth, and consumer choice. Ensuring an online game can work without official service support requires significant investment of engineering resources, making it...
That is not true. That is what Stop Killing Games is about. It's about future games having it in the game, so it'll be part of the plan. So what they're talking about here is adding it in current games and older games. Obviously that is going to be super hard and super, maybe not impossible, but super almost impossible to do.
In developing new games and potentially fewer jobs. Ultimately it could lead to increased costs for consumers and less choice. Again, this is something like a bajillion indie games do. I mentioned in my video on the Anthem thing.
There are so many games out there. What are they talking about? What less choice?
Game from like 25 years ago or something. Like, it's very old. And it's still...
I'm still playing Skyrim. And recently I'm playing Flight Universe. Flight is a 20-year-old game. There are so many choices.
If it was always online, no, it'd be long dead and gone. Like, you just have to design the game with that as an option to allow people.
Exactly. That is what Stop Killing Games is. Designing games that have an end of life option or feature so that it wouldn't die.
And this petition specifically is asking basically if, like, say, a law were produced in the EU or regulation to require this, it would apply to games coming out after a set date. So it wouldn't necessarily retroactively apply to all of these other games. It wouldn't be like,
it's not retroactive, okay? We need to keep repeating that. It's not it seems that those against it, the industry that is against it, they think it's retroactive.
See all this is where they really start to stretch it. Reputational harm. Allowing players to run private servers with online interaction possibilities could result in players using those games in ways that don't align with the game company's brand values. Yeah, for all you know, they might start using proximity chat. It might be toxic. Can you imagine? Leading to a negative association with a brand, thereby harming its reputation. Again, we're really stretching, fam. We're really stretching with this one. Like, do you really think people are like, oh, I'm gonna hop on Fortnite and play this only up like mini mode somebody made? It's not very good. Screw you, Epic. Like, no, maybe DSP is acting that way, but no one else is gonna be so dim-witted to misunderstand what's happening when it's like a private server versus an official server. Everybody understands this. Everybody gets it. You take the risk, you roll the dice playing a private server, and
live with the consequences.
That's what happens. So I don't think that this is actually that big of a risk. But again, they're just kind of stretching. This is also where you start to see some really interesting things. Again, what I love about this article is that you can tell it's put out by people that represent the industry. And I'll show you just how much they represent the industry in just a second, because their board of directors is quite revealing. But they represent the industry, and you can start to see how like so much of this, it is pure just corpo nonsense. But listen to this. Okay. Impact on intellectual property rights. Erosion of intellectual property rights. Mandating game companies keep their online games operable post official support would undermine their rights and autonomy in deciding how their intellectual property is utilized. So requiring it to stay online would affect their ability to choose to not keep it online, which is technically true, I guess. Yes, that's technically true. I guess, you know, we can't miss that point. But there is a vital interest in maintaining effective copyright protection, including protection against circumvention of technologies that control access to copyrighted video game software, where such circumvention is undertaken in circumstances that would lead to the unauthorized public exploitation of games. This is a lot of words to say very little. Competition from community-supported versions. This is also really, really funny.
Okay, so this one is really stupid. Again, the game is dead. What competition?
Or fan server.
That is so stupid. And for the copyright protection, if someone infringe on your copyright, you can always sue them.
So if the fans make a private...
So you're saying, since I have Skyrim and I'm playing it and I'm even streaming it,
that will hurt the...
I am violating the developers or the publishers' copyright? Of course not.
Make a better game. Like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? Like, what is it? It's crazy. Forfeiture of licensing and reproduction rights, allowing customers to create or run modified copies of online games, would necessitate games companies to either license additional rights or refrain from enforcing them, effectively leading to a forfeiture of control over these rights. This, as far as I can understand it, has to do with like trademark stuff, for example. So I've mentioned this before.
Again, that is why you have an end of life plan or feature. So if you design your game with an end of life, obviously you'll remove at the end of its life, those things gets removed, and it won't take very hard for them to remove because it's already, you know, built into the game. So you just like maybe press a button, boom, and all the copyright or trademark assets in the game are rebranded automatically.
That's crazy. Yeah, we can look that up. But what I was saying is,
or you can make a new deal for those other copyright before you start making the game.
Which now the more I say it, it sounds like a euphemism for something. I'm sorry. But anytime anybody used it, I would have to go have my lawyers try to take it down, because if I didn't try to enforce my trademark, I would lose it. I would forfeit it. It's why you can't like trademark the moon, because like you'd have to go, and they wouldn't grant it, first of all, but you would have to go and enforce it. Anytime anybody tried to use the term the moon, you'd have to go after it. It's why, like, whenever we saw these lawsuits, like there was the one that was mentioned in that No Man's Sky video from Internet Historian, where I think it was Microsoft with like SkyDrive or something, some other company with SkyDrive. They tried to sue the No Man's Sky devs because it used the word sky, and they're like, SkyDrive, No Man's Sky, let's just shut it down. You know, but it's because it was close enough that the lawyers had to go after it so that they wouldn't lose their potential trademark. You know, they had to try and enforce it, even in cases where it's like a bit of a stretch, just to show that they're actively trying to enforce it. It's just something, you know, it helps the lawyers always win, you know, but that's how it kind of has to work. So maybe they're saying if they were to open this up and like you can play, I don't know.
Again, because it's part of the plan. Again, this is for future games that has an end-of-life plan. Obviously, they'll have ways of removing those trademarks at the end of the game's life.
They would have to not enforce their trademark stuff and their cease and desist.
All of these are workable.
which
Of course,
gives them for-
it'll be hard for existing and older titles or games, but all of these are workable in future development or future games in development.
If they wanted to change it to make it work in a better way for consumers, they could. It's just that this is the way things are because they
Wisbit
designed it
says,
this way.
Sorry if
since
I
it's
missed
best
your
for
chat
them.
message,
And so
and
now
thank
they're
you
trying
for
to take
checking
steps
out
to
my
make
live
sure that they
stream.
can protect their own perspective on it. They're advocating for their perspective of it. But then they go and they say importance of consumer protection laws. So transparency, players must be given reasonable prior notice before any termination of access to the game. Yeah, we're going to shut it down in 6 months. Enjoy. Service duration. They say the service aspects of online games be provided for a reasonable amount of time. The problem is reasonable is not defined. So Concord can be open for 2 weeks and then they shut it down fully and refund everybody, which is how they kind of got away from it. But other games, they may support it for a year and then shut it down. They're like, yeah, that was reasonable. That was a reasonable lifespan for it, but it's not defined. They get to define what's reasonable.
Brendan Lucas donated £10 through Super Chat.
Thank
That
you.
was British Sky Broadcasting.
Sky Broadcasting.
If you thought the word Sky couldn't possibly be copyrighted, think again. Nothing in the UK can have the word Sky in the name, because this company sues hard.
Yeah, dude. IP protection laws are stupid. And you can tell they were designed by lawyers who are like, oh, every time anybody uses the word Sky, we get to do another lawsuit and get paid. Let's do it. Seriously, that's why they did it this way.
Fearless Wolf
The
donated
lawyers win.
£10 through Super Chat.
Thank you.
Luke, why did people turn on Thor? He's usually genuine and pro-dev. He supports preservation, just not forced server releases. Was this just Reddit drama or deeper frustration?
I mean, I'm sure everybody can speak to their specific frustration with it. My frustration with it is just this narcissistic inability to
Again, the problem with Pirate Software is that he made things up and argued with himself.
taken or wrong. I'll tell you,
He didn't argue
very jubilantly
against Stop Killing Games.
about Elden
He
Ring,
made things up,
for example.
and then he argued with the things he made up.
Not think that game,
So technically, he was arguing with himself.
there were that many people out there that were interested in that. I was in my bubble.
That is 100
I was very wrong about it.
level of
Kind of reflected, try to be like, why
there's a word for it.
so strongly that there was just
Can't seem to remember.
audience for it. But that's what happens, is that you'll make mistakes and you need to adjust and figure it out. But I think why it kind of exploded the way that it did was because it wasn't just him offering an alternative opinion. Him with his platform, it basically initially did a lot of damage to the Stop Killing Games petition and movement back however long ago that was, a year ago, 6 months ago, whatever it was, the first time he talked about it. But
Again,
the next time that it came back up,
the reason why a lot of people didn't like what Pirate Software did is because he basically lied. He made things up.
but they came back and were just like, no, I mean, you're starting to sound pretty hardcore like a corporate glazer. It sounds like you're defending that, but it's fine if he wants to take the perspective of a game dev and the industry perspective. That's fine. What frustrates me with this stuff is when a company or somebody is taking the industry perspective, which is what this represents, and then they try to twist it like, well, you're just too stupid to understand this, or you're just naive. This is actually really good for you. We're trying to protect you. This is for you. Don't piss on my back and tell me it's raining. I know damn well what you're doing. You're trying to protect your IP. You're trying to protect your monopoly, the way you've got things set up where you can make ridiculous amounts of money and then pull the plug whenever you see fit without having to offer refunds or anything else. This is a system that's been built up by you for you. It was not built for me. I am just rolling with the punches, but this was set up by you, and for you to try to lie to me and twist it as if this is actually this is for your own good, you stupid little boy. Sit down. That's what drives me crazy.
And what protection? It's a freaking game.
Typically looks like, and what's, I think, fine, and why I'm totally fine with them putting out, pieces like this, is that typically the industry.
Again, the MS Point or the MS Paint. It seems that
104 donated $10 through Super Chat.
That's what should
It
happen.
seems that popular content creators like to use MS Paint for something.
I did see that. Well, I didn't see the whole thing. I saw the clips where the guy is like, it's very arrogant to dismiss people's perspective. What do you say to people who are frustrated and call you like narcissistic for dismissing their perspectives? And he's like, I don't even think about them. I just cast them out. And he's like, you're literally doing it right now. It was honestly amazing. It was honestly amazing. All YouTubers, to a certain extent, like we're all narcissists. We're all crazy. Like you have to be a little crazy to sit in front of a camera in an empty room alone talking to yourself for hours on end. This whole thing, what's happening now, is weird. Let's just acknowledge that. But I think, you know, some people can get a bit of a head and kind of lose perspective on how it is weird. And it doesn't make you a genius. It doesn't make you brilliant. Like, it's kind of weird. And that's okay, you know? At a certain point, DRK says, that statement is very arrogant. And Thor replies, I don't think so. It's like, dude, you're doing the thing. You're doing the thing, man. Yeah, man. But like I was saying, this is how advocacy typically works. Like one team represents the extreme. In this case, this is the industry. This is the paper we just looked at. And then the gamers represent this perspective. And they are, of course, going for the other extreme. They want full offline support. They want all of this. They want, you know, to be refunded if you're going to take the product they bought away from them. And so they represent the other extreme. And what typically happens is that you end up in the middle with something that has pieces that make the industry.
Again, that is just how politics work.
That's how this typically works, you know? And
You know, that is what politics is, Mr. Luke.
cool.
It's about compromising.
The problem is that like this whole thing, this perspective is being represented by the Stop Killing Games petition. And by trying to stomp this out, it's preventing even meeting in the middle. And one thing that, as I understood it, Thor was trying to say was, no, because this is the extreme, this is bad and we shouldn't support the thing at all. And it's like, that's just not how consumer advocacy works. Like you advocate for the thing that is most in your interest as a consumer. And most likely you'll end up giving away a couple things. You'll end up losing, you know, one or two of your bullet points, but that's okay because you still ended up way further over towards your side than you started, because this is where we're starting now. This is where the industry is because it's been set up by the gigacorps, you know? So I think it's, you know, the spirit of the petition may be deemed by industry guys as extreme, but it gets the conversation rolling. Like when they are used to sitting comfortably in their ivory towers, the idea of having to support a game after it's not making money, or at least offer it as like offline, that is viewed by them as a very extreme position. They're like, no, we're going to shut it down and kill it and move on. And you're going to like it. To them, that's an extreme position, but it's extreme because they've built this whole thing up in their own image, the way that they want it, you know? Do I think that the desires and things outlined in the petition are that extreme? No, I personally don't. I don't think it's unreasonable to be like, yeah, when you buy something, you own it and you don't have to give it up just because the company decided they didn't want to deal with it anymore. I think you buy something, you should get to keep it even when it's not officially supported. You should make it offline compatible. If you can take the extra step and make it so we can play like private server matches, that's awesome. But I don't think it's that extreme.
Oh wait, look that. Look is using combined chat. That is not allowed by Twitch. You can't have combined chat.
It is. Look at the board. Hester Woodliff.
So if you look there, you have YouTube chat, and then there's also Twitch chat. Twitch doesn't allow that.
From Roblox. Cannon Pence from Epic.
What Twitch wants, you can have both chats, but Twitch wants it to be separated, not in one, you know, one place, not combined.
Rogers, fantastic name. From Sony Interactive Entertainment, Matt Spencer from Take-Two, Elaine Correa from Ubisoft, Alberto Gonzalez Lorca from Bandai Namco, Karine Parker from Square Enix, Mark Maslowicz Maslowix from Level Infinite, Felix Falk from Game, Nicholas from Cell, David Verbruggen from VGFB.
So these are, I guess this is the new Sweet Baby.
Of the industry.
They are the new Sweet Baby.
This is why they think this whole thing is so extreme. Because they represent the big boys. They represent the behemoths. So for them, it sounds crazy. And when you've worked for maybe a Blizzard or an Activision, it probably does sound crazy because you're used to the way things are and always have been. Not necessarily always, but have been for a long time. But that doesn't mean that's the way things have to stay. That's my point. Is just because right now everything is about leasing the games, you don't own anything, that's just how it works, that doesn't mean it has to be that way. Like, doesn't mean it has to stay that way. You can push for things to be better. It's okay. You can. It just takes, some effort, but it can happen. It can happen. But this whole thing has been very interesting to see. But I mean, whenever you start to see, what did they say? The enemy of my enemy is my friend. I think for a lot of people, they're like, okay, so this whole Stop Killing Games movement is hated by these people. So it's the enemy of my enemy. Sounds like it's my friend. And I think that's how a lot of people are going to interpret
donated
this.
£10 through Super Chat.
Thank you.
The two arguments I have heard against Stop Killing Games I have remotely agreed WTIH is the security risks of P2P and how you codify such a change without setting completely unreasonable standards.
I think so getting into the specifics of it, like the nuance of actually what you would write in, say, a regulation or a law about it, I think that is where this debate would kind of settle somewhere in the middle. Most likely, it would not be like every game has to have a fully functional offline mode with fully functional offline progression. Most likely, that's not how it would go. Most likely, what would be negotiated and settled on would be something akin to like, you have to allow the game to be bootable offline, and you have to be able to, maybe there has to be a mode to play without an internet connection or without post-launch support and stuff, which could be like, the Mafia games where they have the free roam mode. It could be something as simple as that, where it's like, okay, offline mode for Concord would just be like the shooting range.
I'm going to repeat it again. It's not that hard if it's part of the plan, because a small indie game developer or development team was able to add an offline mode to their MMO because it was part of the plan. It was in the plan to add an offline mode. So all these people saying, no, it's hard. No, it's not. If an indie development team was able to do it, and they did it because it was part of their plan to have it there, then it's not that hard. And that is what Stop Killing Games is trying to do.
And I think that's
have features that will keep the game alive even at the end of its life. And if having an offline mode is the way the developers want to pursue the end of life, they can do it. It'll be part of their plan. So while they're making the game, while they're developing the game, they're also developing at the same time the offline mode feature, because again, it's already in the plan. They already planned for it.
It's always going to be a potential risk, but I would rather deal with that, turn on a VPN or something and play that way, than lose the game I bought for $60 or $70 forever just because the developers decided it was time to move on, So, naming my son Cinnamon Rogers, it is a fantastic name, objectively.
Cinnamon Rogers, that guy, I'm just assuming, might have been bullied when he was younger.
Yeah.
Hey, Cinnamon.
Characters when the server shut down, which is complete BS considering how much time and money go into those characters. Yeah, I mean, again, the way there's so many things in this industry that we can point to and be upset about, but a lot of people just shrug it off because, like, yeah, it's just how it is. And it's like, it doesn't have to be, though. You can change it, He took my thing.
Okay, so I guess that's it for that video. So he went through the the video games industry's I guess official response to stop killing games. And honestly, most of what they wrote is not even what Stop Killing Games is trying to do, and they are using technicalities that, again, if it's part of the plan going forward, moving forward, it's not gonna be a problem. They talk about trademarks.
Wizbot says,
Okay, trademark, sure, but if it's part of your plan, okay, if it's in the plan already to deactivate trademarks before the game dies, what's the problem? Again, it's all about planning ahead in the future. You know, you want to start a game, and we have this. We have now there is in the EU, you must have an end of life for your game. So before you start developing the game, you create a plan, and you add that in your plan of development. So we need a way to deactivate trademarks. Okay, how is that hard? So we have like licensed music that can only exist during the life of the game. So you deactivate it as part of your end of life. You have a function there somewhere that can that you can press or click a button that deactivates all trademark assets. Okay, anyway, guys, that's it for this reaction. Again, if you want to watch the video without me talking over it or anybody talking over it, you can go to Luke Stevens live channel in YouTube and watch it there. So see you in the next one, and thank you for watching.